The artificial lighting of Outpost Epsilon 9 flickered momentarily as Dominic Walsh calibrated the environmental systems. 3 months into his 2-year contract as lead maintenance technician, and he was still adjusting to life on this remote station where humans and the Velian species coexisted in an uneasy alliance. Your thermal stabilizers are inefficient at commanding, voice stated from behind him. Dominic turned to find Kira Navik, one of the Velian military liaisons assigned to the station. Her purple skin gleamed under the lights and her dark wavy hair cascaded down her shoulders. The Velians were known across the galaxy as formidable warriors, and Kira embodied that reputation perfectly. Tall, powerful, with an intense gaze that seemed to evaluate everything as a potential threat or asset. "They're working within parameters," Dominic replied, trying not to be intimidated. "Just need some fine-tuning." Kira moved closer, her steps deliberate. "Your parameters are incorrect. Our physiology requires more precise temperature control than humans." She reached past him to access the control panel, her arm brushing against his. Dominic became acutely aware of their proximity. The Velians had always fascinated him. Their culture, their technology, their biological differences. Kira wore the traditional fitted armor of her people, which accentuated her athletic build while leaving her arms exposed, revealing intricate markings that spiraled from her wrists to her shoulders. "I can adjust it," he offered, clearing his throat. "I will supervise," she responded, stepping back slightly. "Your previous attempts have been inadequate." Over the next few hours they worked side by side, Dominic making adjustments while Kira provided curt instructions. Despite her brusque manner, he found himself enjoying her company. Unlike some of the other Velians, she at least acknowledged his expertise, even if she considered it inferior to her own. "You are not entirely incompetent," she remarked as they finished, which from a Velian was practically effusive praise. Dominic smiled. "Thanks, I think. Your gratitude is unnecessary. I merely state facts." As the days passed, Dominic noticed Kira appearing in his work areas more frequently. At first he assumed she was monitoring him, but gradually realized she might be seeking his company. Velians were generally solitary, especially around humans, yet she seemed to find reasons to be where he was working. One evening, as he repaired circuitry in a rarely used corridor, she appeared with 2 containers. "Sustenance," she said, offering him one. "You have not eaten in 8.2 hours. Surprised by the gesture, Dominic accepted. "You've been keeping track?" "Efficiency requires proper maintenance of biological functions," she replied, but there was something softer in her usually stern expression. They sat together in comfortable silence, eating their respective meals. Dominic noticed the graceful way she moved, how her expressions were subtle yet revealing if you knew what to look for. He found himself studying the variations in her purple skin, darker at her knuckles and along her cheekbones, with a faint iridescence that caught the light when she turned. "You have questions," she stated, catching him observing her. "Your people are fascinating," he admitted. "We don't learn much about Velians on Earth." For the first time, Kira looked genuinely interested. "What do you wish to know?" As Dominic asked about her homeworld and customs, something shifted between them. The rigid formality in her posture eased slightly, and though her answers remained concise, she seemed pleased by his curiosity. When they parted ways that night, Dominic realized that beneath her warrior exterior, Kira might be just as curious about him as he was about her. Neither could have anticipated how this tentative connection would soon deepen, or the misunderstanding that would catalyze it. 3 weeks into their unexpected working relationship, Dominic found himself looking forward to Kira's appearances. Her critiques had grown less harsh, occasionally even bordering on complimentary. Today, they were upgrading the communication array, a task requiring both his technical expertise and her knowledge of Velian transmission protocols. "Hand me the pulse calibrator," Dominic requested, arm extended from beneath the console where he lay working. Kira placed the tool in his palm, her fingers lingering against his for a moment longer than necessary. The contact sent an unexpected warmth through him. When he emerged from beneath the equipment, she stood closer than usual, studying the diagnostic screen. "The alignment is improving," she noted, leaning forward to adjust a setting. The movement caused her armor to shift, highlighting the curves of her athletic form. Dominic found his gaze drawn to her chest. Velian females possessed physiological differences from humans, including slightly more pronounced upper torsos that housed secondary respiratory organs, an evolutionary adaptation from their high-oxygen homeworld. The armor she wore was designed to protect while accommodating these biological features. Lost in anthropological curiosity mixed with a more primal appreciation, Dominic didn't immediately notice Kira had turned and caught him staring. Her posture stiffened instantly. "Why are you staring at me like that, human?" she demanded, eyes narrowed. Dominic felt his face flush hot with embarrassment. His mind raced for an excuse, but something, perhaps the intensity of her gaze or his own fatigue, made him opt for honesty instead. "I'm sorry," he blurted. "I find you beautiful. Your physical form is different from humans in fascinating ways, and I sometimes forget myself. It's disrespectful, and I apologize." He expected anger, perhaps even a formal complaint to his superiors. Instead, Kira's reaction stunned him. Her eyes widened slightly and the purple of her cheeks darkened considerably. A Velian blush, he realized belatedly. She stepped back, her usually perfect composure momentarily shattered. "You find beauty in my form?" she asked, her tone uncharacteristically uncertain. "Yes," Dominic admitted, deciding he might as well be completely honest now. "But that's no excuse for staring." Kira regarded him with newfound interest. Among Velians, physical admiration is only expressed directly and honestly between potential mates or those with deep mutual respect. It is considered intimate. She paused, studying his reaction. Most humans lie or make excuses when caught in such observations. "Would you have preferred that?" "No," she said after a moment. "Honesty is valued highly in my culture. Your directness is unexpected but not unwelcome." The tension between them transformed into something different, charged with potential rather than awkwardness. Dominic realized he'd accidentally followed a Velian social protocol perfectly, despite his ignorance. As they resumed work, Dominic noticed subtle changes in Kira's behavior. She stood closer, occasionally brushing against him in ways that seemed deliberate. When their fingers touched while exchanging tools, she no longer quickly withdrew. That evening, as they completed the calibrations, Kira turned to him. "Humans often share meals to facilitate social bonding, correct?" she asked. "We do," he confirmed, trying not to appear too eager. "Then perhaps we should engage in this custom. For cultural exchange purposes," Dominic smiled. "I'd like that. The mess hall is usually quiet around 2000 hours. Not the mess hall," Kira said firmly. "My private quarters. Velian cuisine cannot be properly replicated in communal facilities." As Dominic followed her through the station corridors later that night, he realized his honest blunder had opened a door he never expected. One leading into the carefully guarded world of a Velian warrior, and perhaps into her heart. Kira's quarters reflected her personality, austere yet thoughtfully arranged with subtle touches of Velian aesthetics. Ceremonial weapons hung alongside star charts, and crystalline sculptures caught the light in mesmerizing patterns. A small cooking station occupied one corner where Kira now prepared their meal. "These are traditional spices from my homeworld," she explained, adding vibrant powders to a simmering pot. "They stimulate neural pathways that enhance sensory perception." Dominic leaned against the counter, watching her confident movements. "Is that why Velians are known for their quick reflexes?" "Partially," she replied, "though that is primarily genetic. The spices are more recreational." Hint of mischief flickered in her eyes, an expression he'd never seen from her before. The meal was unlike anything Dominic had experienced. Flavors that seemed to evolve with each bite. Textures that challenged his expectations. As they ate, Kira asked questions about Earth, displaying genuine curiosity about his homeworld. "Your oceans fascinate me," she admitted. "Veral has only shallow seas. The concept of such vast water depths is almost frightening." "I grew up near the Pacific," Dominic said. "I used to surf riding waves on a board. It's exhilarating to feel that power beneath you, knowing it could overwhelm you in an instant." "You seek danger for pleasure?" Kira asked, intrigued. "Sometimes the risk makes you feel more alive." Something in his words resonated with her. Warriors understand this principle. She hesitated before adding, "Would you show me how you surf if circumstances allowed?" The question held vulnerability, a suggestion of future possibilities beyond their current assignment. Dominic felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the spices. I'd like that very much. After dinner, they moved to her sitting area, where Kira activated a holographic display showing Viral's star system. My family's ancestral territory, she explained, pointing to a mountainous region. As she leaned closer, her hair brushed against his shoulder, releasing a scent like exotic flowers and thunderstorms. Dominic found himself captivated not just by the images, but by her proximity. When their eyes met, the usual guardedness in her gaze had softened. Without thinking, he reached out, gently touching her hand. Kira went still but didn't pull away. "Is this acceptable?" he asked quietly. "Among Velians, touch indicates intention," she replied, her voice lower than usual. "Does it hold the same meaning for humans?" "Sometimes," Dominic admitted. "What intention does it signal for Velians?" Kira's fingers intertwined with his. A desire for closeness, for understanding beyond words. The air between them seemed charged with electricity, slowly giving her every opportunity to retreat. Dominic leaned forward. Kira met him halfway, her lips pressing against his with unexpected softness. The kiss deepened, tentative exploration giving way to growing urgency. Kira's skin was warmer than a human's, with a faint vibration that hummed against his touch. When they finally parted, both were breathing heavily. "Your heart rate has increased significantly," she observed, placing a hand on his chest. "That tends to happen," he smiled, "when I'm with someone who affects me strongly." Kira studied him with newfound intensity. Velians believe physical connection mirrors spiritual alignment. "This is unexpected between our species. Unexpected but not unwelcome," he ventured. Her answer came as she drew him closer again, her powerful arms encircling him with careful restraint. This time, their kiss contained no hesitation, only discovery and growing desire. Later, as they lay together on her sleeping platform, Dominic traced the intricate patterns that adorned her purple skin, marveling at how the markings seemed to pulse with a subtle luminescence when touched. "These are beautiful," he murmured. "They tell the story of my lineage," Kira explained, her voice unusually gentle. "Warriors earn additional markings through notable achievements." Dominic ran his fingers along a particularly complex design across her shoulder. "And this one?" "That," she said, watching him with an expression that combined pride and newfound vulnerability. "I earned for establishing first diplomatic contact with a new species." "Seems appropriate," he smiled, pulling her closer. As they drifted toward sleep, Dominic realized boundaries between them, cultural, biological, personal, were dissolving, replaced by something neither had anticipated but both now embraced. News of their relationship spread through Outpost Epsilon 9 with predictable swiftness. Some crew members responded with curiosity or support, while others reacted with disapproval or unease. Interspecies relationships weren't unheard of, but Velians typically maintained rigid separation from other species. "Commander Thorne wants to see you," Dominic's colleague Eli informed him as they worked on routine maintenance. His expression conveyed concern rather than the usual good-natured banter. "Did he say why?" Dominic asked, though he suspected the answer. "Officially, routine personnel evaluation. Unofficially." Eli glanced around before lowering his voice. "Velian High Command sent a representative. They're not pleased about you and Kira." Commander Thorne's office felt unusually cold when Dominic arrived. A tall, imposing Velian male stood by the viewport, his ceremonial armor indicating high military rank. "Technician Walsh," Thorne began, looking uncomfortable. "This is War Chief Vexer. He has concerns about certain interpersonal developments on this station." Vexer turned, fixing Dominic with a penetrating stare. "Specialist Navik holds vital security clearances and represents Velian interests in this sector. Her judgment must remain unclouded." "With respect, sir," Dominic replied carefully, "my relationship with Kira, Specialist Navik, hasn't affected either of our duties. Velians do not separate personal connections from duty as easily as humans," Vexer stated coldly. "She has requested permanent assignment to this outpost, breaking a carefully planned career trajectory that would have eventually placed her on the high command. This suggests her judgment is already compromised." The news stunned Dominic. Kira had never mentioned sacrificing her career ambitions for him. "I wasn't aware." "Clearly," Vexer interrupted, Specialist Navik comes from a lineage of distinguished warriors. This dalliance threatens not only her future, but potentially our alliance. Human-Velian cooperation remains fragile. Commander Thorne cleared his throat. We're exploring transfer options, Walsh. There's an opening at Proxima Station that would suit your qualifications. You're reassigning me? Dominic felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. Offering an opportunity. Thorne corrected carefully. One I strongly suggest you consider. When Dominic later confronted Kira in her quarters, he found her arranging ceremonial weapons, a ritual she performed when agitated. Why didn't you tell me about declining advancement opportunities? He demanded. Kira's movement stilled. That information was not relevant to our relationship. Not relevant? Kira, they're threatening to transfer me because they think I'm derailing your career. Who spoke of this? Her eyes narrowed dangerously. War Chief Vexer is here. He made it clear I'm considered a problem. Kira placed a blade down with deliberate precision. Vexer oversteps. My career choices are my own. But is he wrong? Dominic pressed. Have you turned down promotions because of us? Her silence confirmed it. Finally, she spoke quietly. Among my people, certain connections are considered lifelong. I made my choice with full awareness of its implications. The weight of her words, the depth of commitment they implied, left Dominic speechless. Velians lived nearly twice as long as humans. She had potentially sacrificed centuries of advancement for what they were building together. I can't let you give up your future, he said finally. Kira approached him, her expression fierce. You presume to make my decisions? This is why Vexer believes humans inferior. You see our choices through your limited perspective. That's not fair. No, she agreed, suddenly gentle, touching his face. It is not fair that outsiders judge what they cannot understand. What exists between us is rare, Dominic. My people recognize such bonds as sacred, even as they fear their implications. As they stood together, the station alert system suddenly blared to life. A computerized voice announced, proximity warning. Unidentified vessels approaching. All personnel to battle stations. Their personal crisis would have to wait. As they rushed toward the command center, Dominic realized their relationship now faced threats from both within and without, and surviving either would require more than just honest words. The command center pulsed with urgent activity as Dominic and Kira arrived. Tactical displays showed 3 unknown vessels on intercept trajectories. Corsairs, Commander Thorne explained grimly, heavily armed. They're jamming our long-range communications. War Chief Vexer studied the approaching ships. Their configuration suggests Draylan mercenaries. They likely seek our research data and Velian technology. The station's defenses were minimal, designed to deter, not withstand, a coordinated attack. As senior officers debated options, Dominic noticed a pattern in the incoming ship's approach vector. They're positioning to disable our environmental systems first, he realized, pointing to the tactical display. If we reroute power from secondary systems, we could strengthen the shields around those sections. Kira immediately understood, and create a feedback surge if they attempt forced entry through those channels. Their eyes met in perfect understanding. Without waiting for authorization, they moved together toward the environmental control hub, already discussing technical specifications. You two? Where are you going? Thorne called after them. To save the station, Kira replied without slowing. As they worked feverishly to modify the station's systems, the first impacts from enemy weapons rattled the structure. Dominic's hands flew across control panels while Kira reconfigured power relays, their movements perfectly synchronized. Like that calibration we performed together, Dominic noted with a grim smile. Less pleasant circumstances, Kira replied, though her eyes held warmth despite the danger. When Vexer appeared at the entrance to the control room, his expression registered surprise at their coordinated efficiency. The Eastern Shield Grid is failing, he reported. We need your modifications operational immediately. 2 more minutes, Kira responded without looking up. Vexer watched them work, his previous disapproval giving way to reluctant appreciation. When the station rocked with another impact, sending equipment crashing, he moved to assist them without comment. With their modifications complete, the next Corsair attempt to breach the environmental systems triggered a massive power surge, disabling one enemy vessel and forcing the others to retreat temporarily. As they regrouped in the command center, Thorne acknowledged, That bought us time to organize a proper defense. It was unorthodox but effective, Vexer added, studying Dominic and Kira with new consideration. Hours later, after reinforcements had arrived and the danger passed, Dominic found himself in a private meeting with Vexer and Kira. Your actions today demonstrated exceptional coordination, Vexer stated formally. Perhaps there is merit in unexpected connections. Kira stood tall beside Dominic. Our differences create strength, not weakness. So it would seem. Vexer's stern expression softened slightly. The High Command will receive my full report, including a recommendation against personnel transfers that would separate proven effective partnerships. After he departed, Dominic turned to Kira in disbelief. Did that just happen? Velians value results above tradition, she explained, her lips curving in a rare smile. Though tradition still matters, she took his hands in hers. There is a Velian bonding ritual, reserved for those who have faced death together and chosen life. Are you proposing? Dominic asked, half joking, half serious. I am stating facts, she replied, her purple skin darkening slightly with another blush. The ritual exists. We qualify. The choice is ours. Later that night, in her quarters illuminated by ceremonial flames, they performed the ancient Velian ritual. Kira's hands gentle yet strong as she painted symbolic patterns across his skin. Dominic's touch reverent as he learned the proper responses. Their bodies joined in celebration of the bond they had forged, different biologies finding perfect harmony. In my language, Kira whispered against his ear, there is a word for when two completely different elements combine to create something stronger than either could be alone. What's the word? Dominic asked, holding her close. She spoke a melodic Velian term, then translated. Roughly, strength born of difference. It is considered the highest form of connection. As they lay together afterward, watching distant stars through her viewport, Dominic reflected on how an embarrassing moment of honesty had led to this profound bond. Sometimes the universe's greatest gifts arrive through the most unexpected means, even through being caught staring. What are you thinking? Kira asked, tracing the temporary markings she had placed on his chest. That I'm very glad I told you the truth that day, he answered simply. Her purple lips curved into a smile against his shoulder. As am I, Dominic. As am I.